Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Nix. Welcome back to this week's version of NASCAR Mailbox. I am doing the NASCAR Mailbox this week before Jared Haas takes back over after next week's Cup race at Phoenix Raceway. With that said, we had a very competitive NASCAR Cup Series race at Circuit of the Americas this past weekend. Christopher Bell scored his second consecutive win of the season in the best showing that Circuit of the Americas has had in the Cup Series thus far, at least in my opinion. And so many of you had questions after this weekend's race. I have selected two questions from fans to answer in this week's edition of NASCAR Mailbox. Starting off from Jeremy Jackson, L2V, he said, "What happened to AJ Allmendinger at the end?" The short answer is tires. The longer answer is Allmendinger pushed his car pretty hard in the last stint of the race. So this requires a little bit more context. NASCAR brought a softer tire to Circuit of the Americas that had more fall off than in previous years. This tire did its job during the race, but there were multiple drivers, especially at this final stint, that pushed their cars too hard. It was not just AJ Allmendinger, it was Shane Van Gisbergen, it was Kyle Busch as well. Obviously, Busch's was the most notable, as soon as he got passed by Christopher Bell in the closing laps, he fell behind the leaders so quickly it felt like he had an anchor attached to the back of his car. The same thing happened to Allmendinger, but to a larger degree. So Allmendinger's tires gave out with about 8-9 laps to go, and he was solidly inside the top 10, if not inside the top 5, when his tires started to go away. And the issue is, obviously, when your tires go out in a course even on a course as large as COTA, especially in a course as large as COTA, when your tires go away, you are going to be a miserable driver until the end of the stint or the end of the race. And that's exactly what happened to AJ Allmendinger. He completely lost the tires on his car, and he was just a passenger for the final 8 laps. He fell from within the top 10 to, I believe he finished in 30th. So he lost more than 20 positions because of the tires. There's a clip of Allmendinger that's surfacing on like X Twitter where he is essentially having a meltdown on the radio because he lost his tires in the last run. And if you've known Allmendinger in the past, you know that obviously he's very passionate behind the wheel. He was not a happy man in the closing laps. So yeah, it was similar to the Bristol race last year, the spring Bristol race, where if you corded your tires, if you ran your tires too hard, you would drop to the field like a stone. Because COTA is so large, Allmendinger lost so much ground so quickly, and there was almost nothing he could do. So he had a really promising day, a pretty quiet day until the ending. And I guess even considering the ending as well, because he was not mentioned very much on the broadcast. But that is correct. AJ Allmendinger did have tire fall off, significant tire fall off. He burned the tires up, and there was just nothing he could do. Right. The second question comes from NASCAR Baby. Forgive me if I butchered the pronunciation. And he said, "Will Connor Zilisch make any more Cup starts this year?" So there are no confirmed starts beyond COTA for him at the moment, but I am positive that he's going to be in a Cup car once more this season. I am very optimistic. We're very confident that he will be. So early Tuesday morning, Justin Marks appeared on Sirius XM radio, and he was actually asked about Connor Zilisch being in the Cup. So he, the team wants to give him as much opportunity to be in the Cup car as possible. But they don't want to take away from his Xfinity stand. They don't want to take away from him contending for the Xfinity title. Because obviously Zilisch won the Xfinity race at COTA, so he's locked in the playoffs. The playoffs immediately become Zilich's top priority, at least for this season. So, with that in mind, though, again, this is only the second time the Trackhouse had ever fielded 4 cars, and I know Denny Hamlin has said it. I know other team owners have said it. It's almost tougher to field four. It's tougher to field 4 cars than 3. They said like the finances are tougher, the budgeting is a lot tougher. Like it seems like a 3-car organization is the sweet spot. So because of that, if Zilisch is going to get any opportunities in Cup, it's going to have to be in a fourth car. Since other team owners have already talked about the difficulties of securing the funding for that fourth car, you might only see him in a start or two, maybe a few more as the season goes on. But another thing that Marks talked about was Zilich's incredibly bright future, which I also wholeheartedly agree with Justin Marks here. Zilisch has the potential to be a superstar in the NASCAR Cup Series. He has the talent, in my opinion. He's the best NASCAR prospect since Kyle Larson himself. He has the same type of ability to win at any track, any series. He's already won the Rolex 24. He obviously he started from the pole in the Xfinity race, fell back due to a penalty, and then drove back through the field to win pretty comfortably in the Xfinity race. So I think it's a lot of those factors where okay, Zilisch is really really good. He is now a favorite to win the Xfinity Series championship. That becomes his top priority. But he's also talented enough where he's going to be in a Cup car before long. I'm confident he would be because a talent like Zilisch is simply too good to keep in the lower divisions for too long. And he's already got Red Bull as a sponsor. He's going to have other sponsors as well that are naturally drawn to him. So I think it's a fair possibility that he's in Cup next year. But to answer your question, he has no guaranteed Cup starts this year beyond COTA, but I would not be surprised if there were a few other road course races added to the schedule. I wouldn't be shocked if Watkins Glen was on the schedule. I wouldn't be shocked to see Sonoma on the schedule as well. And just giving him more laps and track time. But Marks has said Xfinity will be the top priority for him this season. So one Cup race thus far for Zilisch. I know he finished last, but he did not run last the entire race. I'd be very interested if he gets more starts this season to see how he does, and if he's able to contend for a top 10 or a top 5. That will conclude this week's edition of NASCAR Mailbox. Again, my name is Kevin Nix. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will pass it back to Jared Haas for next week's version after the Cup race at Phoenix Raceway. Enjoy the races this weekend, everybody.
Jared Haas with Frontstretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos. And if you like us, make sure to hit that subscribe button.